we're going to go over ways to apply an even tone of one value or a gradated value. I'll use a wax pencil to start, and I'll also go over charcoal and a pen and ink wash and graphite pencil. So for starters, let's go ahead with this. This is a wax pencil, and we're going to start here just by, I don't care if you overlap your stroke beyond the rectangle. That's not important. The rectangle is just a device to contain things. Notice I'm going parallel strokes like this. Now let me show you something interesting. The pencil comes to a point after I've sharpened it, but now I'll create what we call a chisel point. Watch. I'll take the tip of the pencil and angle it. It's about 30 degrees. And now if we look closely at that pencil, you'll see it has a fine tip. It has a flat facet at an angle, and it has a heel where the angle meets the cone of the lead. Now if you watch what I do with that pencil here, this is where I use the flat facet, just like that. I can create something that sweeps up or something that's blocky like this. If I turn the pencil now 180 degrees, I find the tip, and that gives me a fine line where I want it. Now, by doing that, I've blunted the tip. So to sharpen it again, I merely press down on the flat facet, leaning toward the tip. The heel of the pencil beneath the flat facet, but on the same side, allows me to push down on the bottom of the shape and keep the top of the shape relatively soft. So that's important where I have an overlapping form, because it leaves a hard edge at the base. Hard edges imply overlaps. So now I've done that. Let me go ahead and use the flat facet as I described to paint a tone like this. And I'm going to gradate that tone like this. It just means I put less pressure on it. I can also go back and darken it so that I get a gradation that is even stronger. Let me take a graphite pencil, which is what most people call a lead pencil. This is made by Generals. Oh, actually this is Barrel manufacturer, Barrel Turquoise, 4B. 4B, 6B is their softest and darkest, so 4B is in that neighborhood. 8 or 9H is the hardest, and you can't really use it effectively on top of Bristol plate, which is what I have here. Right in the middle is an F or an H or an HB, and then you go softer to a 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B. Same basic idea, but you'll notice the line stands out. It's a little more obvious. You still go over your stroke like that. I usually gradate just by using less pressure on the pencil. But you can also switch over from a 4B pencil to a 2B graphite pencil. And that's harder and therefore lighter. In the meantime, I'll put down a really dark, even tone using 4B pencil and just pushing harder. I'll find that pencil in a moment, but in the meantime, let's do something we call cross-hatching. All right, with a 2B pencil, if you push correspondingly the same, but you'll see that the pencil itself is harder and it yields a lighter value. So that's one way you can do it. Or like I said, you can just press harder on your, or lighter rather, on your 4B lead, and you can still get the same nice even gradient. One of the differences is this will give you less graininess. That is to say, the 2B will. You can go all the way down to an HB, or not so far down as in just use a B, and in every case it will give you less grain. But some of them, after you go down to like a HB, or rather a B, after that it's very hard to put down a black or a really dark gray. So I like graphite. Graphite's fantastic for detail. Now let's switch over to a ballpoint pen. Here, everything we do, any tonality, any values or planes, they have to be expressed in line. It doesn't matter what direction. Let's go this way. Here we actually still see, for the most part, our linear strokes. Don't push hard, just kind of separate them ever farther. I'm going with diagonal strokes. I use parallel strokes, that is parallel to the top of our frame or to the side, for specific purposes. So that's called cross-hatching. I can cross-hatch across this if I like, or let's do this. Let's go parallel to the side of the frame. Now, if I put strokes that run diagonally, like this, they don't have to be 45 degrees or exactly one or the other, but you'll see here we're darkening that field of line value. If I do this, let's put in our verticals again. Then I cross my strokes at right angles, so parallel to the top and bottom, like this. This kind of cross-hatching removes all direction from the strokes. It neutralizes the verticals and gives you something that's perfectly static. Most people think of this as cross-hatching. It is, but it's not the sum and substance of cross-hatching. This is really good for putting in backgrounds behind something more vibrant and moving like that, because it doesn't really have direction, and a background then just sits back in its place. It doesn't advance, it doesn't move, it's static. We can do this cross-hatching with the pencil, with the charcoal, or with a wax pencil. So the charcoal pencil here, I can use a 2B or a 4B. Let me start with a 2B. Crystal plate has a little more grain to it than smooth newsprint, but it also has the advantage of being very close to white. So we can get a full range from black to nearly white. No different from the wax pencil or the graphite pencil. It's just a different medium, charcoal. Now, charcoal is compatible with Conte. Conte, C-O-N-T-E, is a mixture. It's a hybrid. It's part wax pencil and part charcoal mingled together to form a Conte lead. So when you want to go over it, you can use a wax pencil here, or you can use a charcoal pencil. Now, if you try to go over if you try to go over a wax pencil with charcoal, they'll resist each other. It won't work. If you try to go over the opposite, if you try to go over charcoal with a wax pencil, it'll resist. But if you use Conte as your intermediary, you'll be fine. So oftentimes I use charcoal to refine the grainier Conte. I'm going to do something else to this one, which is smudge it. You know, they make paper stumps rolled very tightly and coming to a conical kind of a point at either end. And with such a tool, all you have to do to get gradations or to even out your tone is to go back over that with a Kleenex or such a stump they call it and smear it. And that will give you the most even of tones. Really, if you know what you're doing, that can be very useful. But if you're just starting out, be careful. You might use it as a crutch because you like the even feeling of it. But at the same time, it can get a little wishy-washy if you do it too much. In lieu of a stump, you can just take a Kleenex tissue and rub it. Be conscious of your gradation, so you don't want to lose the shape that you originally created. Let's put down some more charcoal. You can do this with what's known as vine charcoal, a charcoal that I use sometimes when I'm laying in a drawing or a painting. Vine charcoal has no wood surrounding it. It's very fragile, and if you lay it down on any surface, all you can do, you merely have to blow on it, and it will erase itself. But if you have that, you can use it with a Kleenex or a stump. But it's really no different from what I just demonstrated, just using a charcoal pencil. Here's a pastel stick. They come in round and square shapes. They're quite grainy on a surface like this. They're very good on what we call canson paper. That's a product, and they sell all kinds of colors too. I'm doing everything in monochrome now, but this goes much darker and it's faster to do that. And just the residual that's on the Kleenex can be used to finish out that gradation.
There is a lot of value in online art education. We have so much great instruction on NMA that is so easily accessible. Even when I was in school learning to draw and paint, nothing was online. Wherever you are in the world, you can get this instruction. And not only can you watch these lessons that are so valuable and so in-depth and so passionately instructed, but you can watch them again and again and again.